Welcome to another video. This will be regarding creating 3D text on complex surface. So as you can see over here, this will be the case study surface that we are going to create. And I have added the text over here. We can see the 3D comparison, but not everything is filled because we're going to see this workflow involves the use of Generative Shape Design, and this will be mostly surface-based modeling. If you want to add some complex text onto let's say a irregular surface like this one. So I wanted, and I decided to create this video. As we can see over here, I received the following comment from Luis over here. If I will copy this, I already have it copied over here. This was in Spanish. And let's see the comment. So how do you put a text on an irregular surface? On a cylinder or a plane, that's quite simple and he doesn't have any problems. But when working with a complex surface, he usually receives an error. So let's take a look at how we can recreate this from scratch. So I will just have this closed. I will go to Start, Mechanical Design. And the first thing that we need to do will be to go within the drafting workbench. This is quite weird because within a drafting workbench, we're going to have access to the text tool. So other CAD solutions have them directly within the sketch. CATIA, for some reason, it doesn't. I will create an A4 paper sheet over here. So we see the size and I will click OK. Afterwards, I will search for the text tool and I will add the text onto the 2D drawing. I will just type in the name of the channel, 3D comparison. Now, if you want to adjust the font of the text, we can do that. We can just select it, press Alt-Enter, which will be Properties. And this will take us over here within the Properties. The text will not be updated in real time over here within the viewport, but we're going to see a preview of how that font will look like over here on the bottom. For example, I will make this using Arial Black. I will make this a bold style for the font. And over here, we're going to have the size. Now, the size will be important because you should consider the final size that will be positioned onto your surface. You can always rescale the sketch, so that shouldn't be any problem. We have the possibility to do that underneath the sketch workbench. But it is good to start with a good dimension, so you can fine adjust it from over there. You can also change the character style over here. As you can see, the ratio, the slant, or the spacing. So keep that also in mind. I will click OK, and we're going to see that the preview that we have over here on the bottom will now be updated within the page over here. So we know the file format. This is A4, and this will be the text. Now, in order to have this transferred to Part Design to Sketcher, we're going to need to save this as a universal format. So go to File, Save As. And I will save this as a DWG over here. So this will be the file format. I will call this 3D comparison. Okay, let me type that correctly, comparison. Hit Save. And now I will minimize the drawing and I will drag and drop that from the desktop. So from the desktop, we're going to find that, let me search it like this. So 3D comparison. This will be the file. Drag and drop it within CATIA. That will be converted, as we can see over here. And the difference between those two is that over here we have the black filling, but within this file format, we're just going to have the outline. So this has been converted to a polyline, if you're familiar with AutoCAD and let's say vector drawing. All we have to do now is select what we want. In this case, all the text. Go to Copy or press Ctrl+C, and now we can create our new part. So I will create a new part. And within this new part, I will just enable the planes because by default I have those set to hidden, and I will hide the axis. By default, CATIA should look like this for most of the users. And I will go on the Y and Z plane, create a sketch, and I will just press Ctrl V to paste that. And we're gonna see that nothing really happens within the viewport. This is because if I will zoom out, we're gonna have the text position over here. So keep that in mind. We also have an update loop over here waiting. Now you can select the text and you can position it. I will position it something like this, with the P on the vertical axis in my case. Afterwards, we can leave the sketch. And now we're gonna need to define that multi-section surface that we're going to project this onto. So to do that, I will jump within Shape, Generative Shape Design. You can also use the Part Design multi-section over here, Solid. So this should also work. But I usually prefer to go with Surface for this. So Start, Shape, Generative Shape Design. And over here, I will select the X and Y plane. And within the X and Y plane, I will create a 3-point arc. We see over here on the vertical, this will be the length of our text. Therefore, I will create the 3-point arc to be slightly bigger, something like this. And we're gonna also choose the side that we want that curvature to be defined. So this will be like this. If you want, you can add a specific value, but I will just add it like that. We can also increase the size of this, but I should also position this before that, because as you can see over here, if I will just select one point, both of those points will be dragged along. If I will hold down the control and I will select the axis, we're gonna have the possibility to, so in this case, I cannot make that fixed, but I can position it like that. If I will increase the radius, this will also extend that. So I think this will be the faster solution within CATIA. Within Solid, it's a little bit easier. You can just select the 3-point arc, this one, and afterwards you have the possibility to go for middle points and so on. But over here, for some reason, we won't have that. It shouldn't be any problem. I will leave the sketch now. This will be the first profile over there. And now I will select the same plane, and I will create an offset plane starting from this one, maybe at 100 millimeters. I will enter the newly defined plane. I will center this, and I will choose the 3-point arc to be oriented like this. I will not add specific values because that won't be important for now. And now we can define that multi-section surface using the multi-section surface tool. Select, for example, the bottom line, the top one, and we just need to take to be sure that the arrows will be pointing within the same direction. Afterwards, hit preview, and we can hit OK, and we're gonna have that complex shape over here, as we can see. Okay, now in order to project the text, we're gonna use the project tool over here. So start the project tool. The projection type, I will change this to be along a direction, and we're gonna use the x-axis for the projection. For the projected element, I will expand this and I will select sketch 1, which will be the one that we copied over here from the 2D drawing. The support will be the multi-surface, the multi-section surface. And for the direction, I will choose this to be on the X component over here. I will uncheck the near solution and I will check the tangency over here. If I will click on preview, we're gonna see how that text will be positioned over here. Even though we are gonna receive a warning that the result cannot be smoothed, the result is not a convex wire, that shouldn't be any problem, because all the individual letters will be connected. So this is just a warning for the projection, and everything should work out just fine. If you want to now adjust the position of this, okay, one more thing. If you're going to click OK, we're going to see that this will take us to the multi-result management. Since we're going to have individual sketches over here, we're just going to keep all the sub-elements over here. Now, if I want to adjust the position of the text, I can just go over here, select the original sketch, and I will just move this a little bit higher because I know that the surface was offsetted over here when we created. And we're going to see how this will be updated afterwards, okay? Now, we have the text over there position and align normal to the surface. All we have to do now is to use the extrude for this one. I will use the extrude surface. I can select the profile, I can select everything, so all the project one. And I will make this, for example, 3 millimeters. But I also need to specify the direction. In this case will be the X, just like the projected one. And we're going to see CATIA will think a little bit, and afterwards we're going to have that 3D text added over there onto the X-axis. Again, we're going to have the multi-result management. We're just going to keep everything because we want all of those elements to be maintained. And afterwards, this will be a workflow specific to generative shape design. We're just going to have to fill this so that we can define a closed body if we want to take this to part design. So, for example, for the number 3 over here, this will require a fill. You can find the fill tool over here. I will just select the edge over here, so the boundary of that number. Click OK, and that should fill in that, as we can see. For the D, since we're going to have an inner profile over here and an outer profile, we're going to need to use a different approach. So a multi-section, starting from the D profile all the way to the inner profile. And let's take a look at how that will generate. We're going to see that in this case, we have the closing point over there. We have the direction. It should work with that. So let me just try to fill this using the fill. Okay, we're going to see that the boundary is not connected over here. Let me just try with a fill over here because this should work. So the fill works, no problem. But over here on the D, let me just check the original text that I created, which is this one, because I recall I used the multi-section and it worked just fine. So we have the multi-section, we have the 2 closing points, we have the 2 sections, the same direction will go like that. So for some reason over here it went. Let me just recreate this. So multi-section will be this one. From the top all the way over here, we see the closing point. We're gonna see that now it, for some reason, it will not create that. Let me just reverse one of those, but again, we're gonna see a problem with the tangency for the support of that. Okay, this is quite weird, so let me just undo that. I will check this feature, so the multi-section. We see that I didn't add anything different. So we have the section 1, the section 2. We have the closing point 1, closing point 2. We don't have any supports, any continuity. And this works just fine, so I can just click OK and we have it. But for some reason, if I will delete it and try to recreate it, so we have the closing points over there. Let me try to do that again, because for some reason I don't understand what's happening over here. So we have that profile all the way to this profile. So we have those 2 closing points. So the multi-section surface geometrical operator with implicit spline, impossible to automatically compute the implicit spline, do two coplanar sections, add a guide between the two sections, or impose a tangency condition. I have the tangency over here. Let's say the tangency coupling over here. For some reason, it doesn't want to create that. So this is really odd, because I know that the multi-section should work. As we can see over here within my original video, it worked. And now, yeah, we have the closing point over there. Let me just try to edit that. So the closing point for the section 1, let's say over there. Okay, so replace closing point over there. Replace closing points over there. Okay, so it just doesn't wanna cooperate for some reason. I don't know exactly why. But let's see, for the other fields, if I will select the M over here, this should be just one. And again, it works without a problem. Let's try the multi-section over here on the O, because we're gonna have two profiles over here as well. This is also quite annoying that that selection is not that simple. And again, we have the same problem. If I will go with a fill, so it took the support. I don't want that. Let's just remove support. And add afterwards the following one. But the selection is quite difficult because we only need this selection. And usually from this perspective, all the way over here where I move the mouse, CATIA will just give me the support. So you need to be patient. And as you can see, the mouse isn't even positioned on the edge, but that will give me that. So the boundary is not closed, but this should also be another multi-section over here, just like with the D. And for some reason, we're gonna see that this will work. So yeah, this is how surfaces are generated in CATIA. Some of them don't have any reason. Let me try again with this D. If I will select maybe this vertex over here, because the first point that I will select will be used as a closing point. I can also change that by going over here and put it right over there. But in this case, it will not allow me to select that. Okay, let's try one more time. That profile with that profile, hit preview. No, we still gonna need to add a guiding curve over here. But yeah, overall, this is how we can define that. This will be within Generative Shape Design. If you want to work directly with part, let's go over here within part. I will just hide all of those. So from the extrude onwards. And over here, we're going to have the possibility to add thickness to the surface. So in this case, I will add 1 millimeter over there. And let's see, if I will select the projected, if I'm going to pad this, you're going to see that the problem will be with the projected. This will not be viable as an input sketch over here. So this is why we need to use Generative Shape Design in order to work with that. Since this will not be a viable selection over here, this projected. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. In my opinion, I wouldn't use CATIA to add a text, a 3D text over here, because the software is not that user-friendly regarding this. I will mostly use SolidWorks. If I would, let's say, be required to position a 3D text or a logo on a product like this, I wouldn't do it within CATIA. Okay, so I hope you find this video useful. I'll position a subscribe button over here. Also consider to give this video a thumbs up, and also consider to add some comments or maybe some tips and tricks regarding this, how you can add complex text directly on irregular surface. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.